listening. This is Jen Amaral Coons with Living Open and also Beyond the Mirror Counseling. And today what I'm wanting to talk about is endurance. And that is just something that's been coming up for me as I hear people talk about their struggle with the pandemic. And I've heard it a lot as I am depression, or I have anxiety, and I'm calling it like pan-pression and pan-anxiety. It's like around the pandemic, like there's some anxiety or depression. But for me, as I see it, it's definitely a grieving. And one of my other talks discussed that piece about grieving and the stages of grief and loss around all that we are losing and all that we continue to feel is missing in this pandemic time with all the social distancing. And so I hear a lot of things and concern. My kids are depressed, or I feel depressed. And I think depression is real, and it's really important to pay attention to. I don't minimize that, and I want people to know that depression is a real thing, and people struggle with it and get stuck in it like quicksand. And it can feel really, really hard and make everything around them feel really hard and hard to reach. It's almost like everything is right in your sight, and you just don't have the energy to get up, and it's painful to be in that space. Being able to see like the things that you want in some moments and not be able to move to reach them, or struggling to be able to see them. And that could be happening to kids, and that could be happening to adults. And so one thing I talked about a little bit in the last talk is how we can perceive things in others and quickly try and translate what that might mean. So if we're seeing grief in our children, if we're seeing struggle in them, don't be too quick to call it depression or to call it, something deep, like in a way that is wrong, like for them. Try not to judge it, I guess, as for what is wrong versus just this natural part. To feel a little sad or to feel a little anxious in a pandemic would be a normal experience. That I would be concerned if everybody was dancing around like, hell yeah, this is the best time of my life. And as an introvert, I've said that before, there is a part that feels really good. Like I can just move about my own biological clock and do what I need to do and not feel like overbooked. Which even when I underbook as an introvert, I feel overbooked a lot of the time in the real world when we're not in a pandemic. And so I like the feeling of not being overbooked. However, there's still a sadness and a grief that goes along with it. And so endurance, when I look it up, no matter where I looked it up, I did a bit of research, it is considered a noun. And so endurance is the power to withstand pain or hardships, the ability or strength to continue despite fatigue, stress, or other adverse conditions. And so to me, when I hear endurance, I would disagree with the noun. I'm like, could I do that? Could I just disagree and say, this sounds like a freaking verb to me, like an adjective at best. It needs some movement. Like, how do you endure from a person, place, or thing? How do you endure in a solid space? To me, endurance feels more like a verb. It takes effort. That we're not just, it just isn't is. It's not just is. It's something that we need to actively participate in. To endure, we are taking action, whether that, and to me what's important is the leaning in. We're leaning into our emotion. We're saying this is hard and I need to lean in and continue to adjust my lifestyle and my wants and desires and goals during this time. The willingness to commit to ourselves and to continue to persevere best we can with these adverse conditions. And so when we look at endurance, we're saying hardships, fatigue, stress, adverse conditions. So there wouldn't be endurance. We would just call it ease of awesome, like if it wasn't with the rest of the stuff. But because we're in a pandemic, we must endure. And so to endure, again, there's a fatigue around that. It takes effort. There's a struggle around that. And so do not go ahead and be afraid. I say that I run anxious, I run afraid as a person of my personality. So fear may come up, yet I want to be open to my children's struggle. I do not want to pull them out of pain too quickly or say that something is wrong, because they need to struggle, through this. They need to endure. And when I allow them to endure, I give them a great, great gift. When I allow them to see the beauty and the gratitude and allow them to endure the pain without pulling them out, fixing it, or changing understanding it or telling them it isn't so, or that they shouldn't feel that way, then I give them this gift of endurance, which is going to translate to healthy skills throughout their life. As they move through this pandemic and into their life, they will say, I've been through something really hard. I've been through a global pandemic. And if I've been through a global pandemic, you know, I can work on this PhD if I want. I can do this thing I never thought I could do. I could start a business. I could climb a 14er. I could, you name it, whatever they want to do. I could write a book. I think my youngest is going to write a book before he graduates. He baffles me. Sometimes I have to look up the words he says. I don't know where that came from, but it's really sweet. They're all so different. And so to endure, to allow them and teach them and like bless them, you know, with the skills to do that, to show them that this is the natural space. Fatigue is normal when we are enduring. You know, that is a gift that I give them. And so if you are feeling fatigue, if you are feeling stress, if you are feeling hardship, pain, you know, a struggle to withstand, that is normal. And so what we want to look at is how do you move about that as compassionate, as gracefully as you can, because this is where depression gets hard, or anxieties get hard, or other self-harm behaviors, or the grasping and addiction that can show up around trying to fix it or change it or take yourself out of the pain show up. And so we want to be able to say, wow, this is hard. I am tired. So normally if I go on a run after work and I just feel tired, maybe I need to walk today, or dance today, or just sit outside today, or barbecue on the back patio today and make myself a sparkling water, or dip my feet in the water at Horsetooth. That there are 101 things that I could do instead of run. But if I'm held to that and say, I need to run, and this is what I need to do, and why am I not doing that, and I'm bad, and I'm lesser active during this time or whatever, I'm missing the mark. Because if we were at war, it would make sense, right? And I like to do my air quotes. If we were at war and you could see the war around us and you were not going on a run or taking time to do your laundry, it would make sense to you. And so there is a hiding happening. And when we are hiding, we know that that brings shame a lot of times if we're not careful. That in hiding, shame can show up. That in hiding, loneliness can show up. Hopelessness, fear can show up when we're hiding. And so we want to create a space for those to be, and to call this what it is, you know, and to allow ourselves to learn new ways to endure. And just every day that you move through it, you're doing that. And so when it gets hard and you're saying, I'm doing it wrong, or it feels terrible, to remind yourself that you're doing it right now. You are creating skills for endurance. I'm enduring the wind during this video. And so I hope you can hear me. It feels really nice, but I don't know how it sounds to you. But the endurance is allowing it to be just like the wind. It is here with me in this moment, and I am going to do the best I can in it. I cannot stand up and say, wind, be done with you, be still the wind. And I don't need to give up. I just need to admit that it might be a little harder to hear in this video with this if I'm enduring the wind. And it will come and it will go, it will pass, and it will come back, and I have zero control over that. But I can decide how I want to show up within the wind. And when we have an emotional wind, it feels the same way. We want to endure. The irony is the enduring of our own emotions. It's not what's happening around us as much as how we feel about what's happening that is so hard and so painful and so much of a struggle to endure. And so today the invitation is opening up a space, creating a space for endurance, and allowing that to be messy and fatigue, because that's necessary here in the definition. To endure, we must be tired, you know. And a lot of my metaphors are around running, and I've never been a pro runner or a competitive runner. I don't like that. It takes the fun out for me. I just run. I learned as a teenager, when life is overwhelming and I have all this within me and my thoughts are running mucky and full, that if I run, I feel centered and grounded. It's like meditation. If I run outside, it doesn't always work as great on a treadmill, but it still works a little. But if I run in nature, it's like everything has come into alignment for my greatest good. And so there's endurance in running. If we just stop when it feels bad, you know, and this could be triggering for anybody who has an eating disorder or who pushes themselves too hard. So I'm not saying push yourself too hard past what you know is your greatest good to accomplish some goal. I'm saying that we come up against a little bit of pain when we do something new. So if we want to give presentations, we may come up against anxiety and fear when we do something new. When we begin a running program, we may come up against a little bit of challenge, you know, a little bit of that feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And so we want a little bit of that to be, not like I'm going to die here and I'm going to push myself anyway because I hate you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying I love you and you can do this. So any pace you can do to do this, you do that. This hill is big and it seems to be going for a while. So shift your priorities. It doesn't mean, bring down your expectations of yourself. People are triggered by that, lowering my expectations. We're not lowering, we're shifting. At the end of the day or the month, all of the expectations can be met. They can all be in your basket of met expectations. However, we're doing it out of order now because we're in a pandemic. So my speed requirement or my desires may have changed, and I may need to put things on pause because new things are important while I'm enduring. I just built a new floor in my living room, and I'm not sure I want to put the furniture back. So it's all like everywhere in the second living room, which is barely a living room. It's more of a gigantic foyer, or foyer, however you say that, front room that we don't use, and everything is in there, the computer, the TV, all of the couches. And so I might move some of that to the garage or somewhere to make my other living room by the fireplace with the big window a yoga room where I can do yoga and sit and meditate and journal, because that sounds like what I need, a goal that I need to accomplish in the pandemic. I didn't care for that like when I was doing my day-to-day, but right now in a pandemic, that sounds fabulous. So I don't know that I need my computer or that I need the couch right now, but I need other things. And so endurance is a willingness to listen, you know, and that's what I feel like it comes down to. I talk about listening, sacred space, pausing. And I like to slow my voice when I talk about those things, because with my ADHD, I get excited, like I'm passionate about what I'm saying. However, when we come against these moments, there is we choose to move slower. We choose to slow down the car from 100 miles an hour so we can see clearly out the side window. We can't see clearly in our periphery when we are moving at 100 miles an hour. And so being in a pandemic, we're seeing so much more than before if we are open to that, and that can be painful for people to increase their emotional tolerance, which is where we want to bring that compassion. And to realize avoidance may be part of this process. You may need to avoid to bring it down and contain and put it away. And I might do some talks on healthy avoidance and distraction, as well as healthy containment, to look at putting it away for a while until you can feel it fully in a safe way. And so today I encourage you to gather up, just make a list, do it however you do, draw a picture, make a list, sing a song, dance it, but show yourself how you have endured. If you are here and something has brought you to this video, you are enduring, you have endured, you are in the act of currently in this moment enduring. And so not to judge and say, how am I doing it, or I'm not good at it, or it looks good on her and it doesn't look good on me. You are doing it and it doesn't look great on me in every moment. Like I'm doing a video right now, so apparently it looks greater on me now than it did when I was tearing up the floor, wishing I was doing 100 other things, and trying to figure out what I want to do with that space, and go from YouTube video to YouTube video to figure out how to build a floor when I've never really done that before. So we have to endure, allow it to be imperfect, allow ourselves to make mistakes, to do it as gently as possible with love. Like it doesn't mean we're not irritated. I get irritated with myself, maybe more than anyone else I know, because I don't get a break from myself. So I'm a little irritated in myself in every day probably if I stop to think about it, but I love myself. So I'm gonna talk about it in a nice way. Like, Jen, you're driving me crazy. Chill out. Go on a walk. Breathe. Take a minute. Like, center yourself. Come back. Have a bath. Like, come on, Jen. Something's got to give. Like, you're feeling a little savage in this moment. And I like to use humor and I like to use compassion. And so try out whatever. I'm just going to throw out a bunch of things out there, a lot of different ideas, and you take what feels good for you and you leave the rest. So if there's anything I'm saying that you say, wow, there's an inkling of that may support me through this challenging time, then you use that and you change it up and you revise it and you make it a better, more stronger like thing for you than I'm even talking about. And if you want to share it with me, I would love, love, love to see that. So also through Beyond the Mirror, I would love to see someone create a mini inspirational video. So maybe 10 minutes or less. What is helping you through this challenging time? And I would like anybody to do that, whether you're 2 or whether you're 102. Send me your video to our Facebook page at Beyond the Mirror where you're finding this video, and you will win a prize. So that prize will look like some different local, I'm going to support some local businesses and have some gift cards ready for anybody who's in Fort Collins out or Loveland area. Outside of that, I will connect with people maybe in the community that you're in to be able to support a business there and get you a gift card of your choice. So thank you for listening, and show me what you got. You're doing something right. Like, you just showed up. So definitely give yourself some props, a little pat on the back for endurance. Endurance doesn't always look pretty or feel nice, and it's okay. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. I feel like it's when I'm in the garden or when I'm camping, it doesn't look pretty like as they show in a magazine, and it doesn't feel nice, but I've always never felt more beautiful than I do when I'm touching the earth, when I'm dirty, when I'm in the soil, the fresh soil of the world, and playing, like as doing sports in the mud. Like, that's when I feel the most beautiful, the most connected to myself and the world. And it's not always the way that we're taught. So allow yourself to be doing this imperfectly beautiful in your own way. And thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye.